Okay, so I try to hoard gold. I don't hold a lot of cash. About 95% of my money is invested in cash flowing assets or gold and silver and other types of things because I don't want to sit in cash. A lot of people love sitting in cash. I think there's a huge cost to that due to inflation. But people would say gold is just a relic, right? It's an old thing. People don't do it. There's no value. There's no return. What about crypto and virtual land and all these things? But central banks, central government banks have been buying gold like crazy for the last 10 years. If you see this chart here, they're buying a ton of it. So if you want to be an insider, look at what the insiders are doing. And central bankers truly are the insiders. On the other side of this, you'll see this article from Bloomberg that they've had over $5 trillion where people are just sitting in cash, right? There's Americans in their savings and their bank accounts and their investment accounts, $5 trillion. So a lot of people are sitting in cash. So I'm gonna make a case for why owning gold as opposed to sitting in cash would be a great idea to consider. Let's jump in. Okay, quick disclaimer, I'm not your investment advisor. These are just my opinions. Get your own advice before making any financial decisions. I have probably 5 to 10% of my wealth in gold or gold and silver. And why is this? It's because I have a very overweighted position. I'm bullish on the fact that I think the dollar is going to continue to be devalued as it has been over time. So I'm going to share this with you about why cash is not money. Why a $100 bill, I've got some bills up here, why this stack of bills, and these aren't real bills, but why this is not actually money, right? Because they can just simply create more. So dollars actually used to be a unit of measurement. What do I mean by that? It's just that the dollar was just simply like a quart or a mile or something that was used to measure. And so if you look at this 1928 bill, it says that $100 is payable in gold coin to the bearer on demand. So that just means it was a claim check, right? On the bill itself, it said you could take this bill in and go get your ounce of gold, or you could get that amount of gold payable whenever you want. And so it was a claim check. And then later you'll see, because after 1933 it became illegal to own as a U.S. citizen to own gold privately, basically you'll see that what happened is it said instead of $100 payable in gold coin, it was just $100. So they just kind of took away with the whole thing of, oh, actually instead of the gold being the money, this actually became the money, which was the bill, right? Which is kind of bizarre if you think about how that actually happened. So we think of it as normal now, but it wasn't normal. It was actually that gold and silver were actually money. So dollars are created into existence. Most of them now are created digitally, typically entered into a ledger. And so that's why the dollar has lost, you can see on this chart, 97% of its purchasing power since 1913, just due to dollar creation, to more stuff that's been created, more currency that's been created. So again, dollars don't store value at all. And if you look at this chart, M1 is the total number of physical dollars created as well as amount in bank accounts or financial accounts. You can just see it's just this huge spike even in the last few years of how much money, or not money, it's not money, how much currency has been created, right? So when you look at actually what gold is money, right? JP Morgan, the financier, almost 80 or 100 years ago said, gold is money and everything else is credit. Well, what does that mean? Gold is money, everything else is credit. Well, it means that this has value. If you have an IOU, if you have a piece of paper, if you've got a loan, if you've got a bond, you got some financial asset, that's not really money, right? Because this actually stores value. Nothing else really stores value. So we've got a 5,000-year history of gold and silver being money. So you got gold and you got silver. I got a silver coin right here. And you've got a history of these actually being money. There's no counterparty risk, which means if I have this coin, it's worth, right now, this is an eagle, it's probably worth close to $40, right? So I can sell this for $35, $40 to somebody that will buy it, and it has the value within it. If I've got a bill, no matter how many bills, this has no intrinsic value, right? Maybe it's a few cents, right? How much did it cost to print these, right? It didn't really cost anything, right? It's just because it's not actually something that stores value. So there's this idea of counterparty risk as well. When you have counterparty risk, it means that if anything fails within that whole process, meaning let's say a bank fails, a company fails, an issuer fails, then you could lose the value of what you have. Another issue with ETFs, a lot of people say, well, I just own physical metals in ETFs. Well, I say, well, it's not the same thing. And the reason why, in general, there's a couple exceptions, but for the most part, most ETFs, such as GLD or SLV, typically they'll have 1 ounce of silver or gold for every 20 to 30 ounces they sell. So that means they'll have this 1 ounce and they'll sell 20 or 30 shares on this 1 ounce of silver or gold. So what happens if there's a run on it? Everybody tries to get them. Well, no, there's nothing there. There's nothing there to get. And so there can be a total loss of all the value. That's counterparty risk, right? There's no counterparty risk. Obviously, somebody could steal your stuff, but other than that, there's no counterparty risk of owning physical metals. The other thing too is really central governments are buying gold. They're buying metals like crazy right now. And why is that? Why would the most insiders be buying gold? Because there's a lot of these BRICS nations, they want to get off of the gold, get off the dollar standard. There's a lot of people right now still, I think, transactions. It was about 80%, I believe it's down about 70% now of international transactions are settled in dollars. But especially with weaponizing the dollar with Russia, we've actually pushed out a lot of nations. And there's a lot of incentive for a lot of these groups to work outside of the dollar. So gold gives a way to do that, and there's no third party to be shipped directly. There's just an easy way to be able to transact. And it's a little heavy, but other than that, it's you can transact pretty easily with it. So how do you getting started with gold investing, right? How does that actually work, right? If you're like, hey, I'm new to this, I'd love to get started, I don't know how to do this. Well, I would say you need to contact a reputable gold dealer. I can make a recommendation if you like. I don't have a financial interest in that. It's just great to find good people that are trustworthy that you can get reliable stuff from. So you can ask around for that. I would also say, buying bars. This is a large bar. It's a fake large bar, but there are large bars you can buy. There's small bars that are 1 ounce bars, but gold and silver coins are actually harder to counterfeit. And so just because of the way that they're designed, it's going to be harder. And there's actually a lot of stuff coming out of China and other places that there are counterfeits where they're more gold or silver plated. So there's just something to keep an eye out for. But, coins are going to be tougher to counterfeit. And there are several ways you can store physical metals. You may be thinking, well, if I buy all this stuff, where do I put it? Do I put it under my mattress, or what do I do with this? Well, a few main options. You can get a home safe. Just don't tell anybody where it is or that you have one. You basically can have a safety deposit box and insure it. And so what that means is safety deposit boxes, it's not insured against loss. So if there's a loss, you're not insured. So you can pay for a third-party group to help insure that. The challenge with that is if there are bank holidays. Back in the 1920s and 30s, there were some bank holidays where the banks just actually closed, so then you couldn't actually go in and get your stuff. So that's an issue. My favorite place of storing metals, though, is actually a third-party vault. And there's a couple of reasons why. There are these vaults. You basically have stuff ordered from a dealer and have it shipped directly there. They will store it for you. They will insure it. They do it for a small fee. It's very similar actually to the cost of an ETF, but you actually have the physical metals in your name. And then the coolest thing about it is, again, the original conversation around this is, should I buy gold or should I hoard cash, right? Well, if you have, instead of 100K in cash, if I've got 100K in gold that's at one of these vaults, I can borrow against the value of my gold and silver or my metals at 75% LTV. So if I have 100K in there, I can borrow 75K anytime I want, get a check or wire within a few days. And it's typically 7, 8, 9%. And it's only for the days that the money's out and there's no fees typically with how this works. So again, the asset, because this stores value, the asset you can borrow against it at a low rate. So it gives you liquidity, which that's why people hold cash, right? That's why we hold cash, because we want to be able to buy stuff when we need it. But what this allows you to do is to be able to have the gold and the silver, whatever, to hedge against inflation, and insurance against inflation, as well as being able to have liquidity as you need it. So that's something I recommend you do. So just as a summary, gold stores value, central banks are buying, the BRIC nations are trying to get out of the dollar. So get gold, get silver, look into what you can do to get yourself started there. I want to share this quote with you. This comes from Peter Schiff. It says, "Gold has intrinsic value. The problem with the dollar is it has no intrinsic value. If the Federal Reserve is going to spend trillions of dollars to buy up all these bad mortgages and all other kinds of debt, the dollar is going to lose all of its value. Gold will store its value, and you'll always be able to buy more food with your gold." So just a simple statement by Peter Schiff, just saying, hey, this has got intrinsic value. Dollars do not have intrinsic value, and that's important. When people lose faith in the dollar over time, it just loses its value. Even if you're not somebody who's catastrophizing, if you're saying, oh, it's all going to fall apart, but over time this is going to lose its value versus having something that's going to store its value. I want to share this video with you about kind of what's happening in the world, how the dollar collapse has already started. Check out this video up here. It's kind of in line with this, what we're talking about here. Then if you haven't joined our investment club, we're doing deals in multifamily, we're doing oil and gas deals, we're doing ATM machines, car washes, other types of alternative deals. Check out the link below. Look forward to connecting with you on this, and we'd love to have you join our investment club. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode or the next video that we do here.